Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on GE and Aramco Entrepreneurship Center's Ecomagination Challenge. My name is Casey Shapiro, and I will be your host and moderator for this webinar. I'm pleased to welcome the following speakers to our webinar this morning. With us today, we have from GE, Deborah Frodel, Global Executive Director, Ecomagination, Dave Polizzotti, Consulting Technologist in Ashish Aneja, Advanced Technologies Leader at GE Water and Process Technologies. From Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, we have Rashid Khan, Head of Innovation. And from 9 Sigma, we have Eloise Young, Senior Program Manager. We have a lot of exciting things to share with you today. We will start with our brief introduction on 9 Sigma's role in the challenge. Deborah Frodel will discuss GE's vision for this challenge. Rashid Khan will review the technical goals of the challenge and summarize key requirements for your proposal. Dave Polizzotti and Ashish Aneja will provide additional technical information. And then we will go over some commonly asked questions and then open up the remainder of the webinar to a live Q&A. We will conclude the session with information on what you can do today in regards to the challenge, including where to register, stay connected, and submit your proposal. Before we move on, if you have any questions throughout the session, please send them through your Q&A chat box. We'll perform a live Q&A with our speakers shortly. So 9 Sigma's role in this challenge. 9 Sigma is the administrator for this challenge, being sponsored by GE and the Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, Renewable Energy Solutions for Seawater Desalination. You can read more about this challenge, review the transcript for this webinar, and submit a proposal at www.9sites.com/community/ecomagination. Additionally, the site hosts a forum on this challenge where we will answer all posted questions. We'll display the website address at the end of this presentation.
And now we'll turn this over to Deb Frodel to introduce GE and GE's role.
Deb, we're not able to hear you. If you could press *6 to unmute your line, that would be great.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining the webinar today. We clearly look forward to a robust conversation with all of you. I lead Ecomagination for GE. For those of you that are not familiar with Ecomagination, it is GE's business strategy and commitment to technology solutions that both save money and reduce environmental impact for our customers. We are excited to be partnering with Aramco on this Open Innovation Challenge. This is Ecomagination's 5th challenge. We've been at this since 2010 already. This particular challenge aims to look at new solutions to lower the total cost of desalination as well as improve environmental performance. We are looking for ideas around cleaner energy sources, incorporating advanced materials, integrating processes better. We are seeking solutions that are innovative, feasible, and that we can scale at a global level as well. So why we do open innovation challenges at GE is because we are looking to make investments so we can speed up the process, develop more sustainable solutions, tap into the world's best minds, brightest minds to help us solve. So we hope to inspire a variety of you, whether it's scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, inventors out there to seek your ideas for developing an outcome for our challenge in reducing desalination costs. If we do this, we are solving one of the world's toughest water energy challenges, and it really creates a tremendous opportunity for customers, community, and the planet. And so we look forward to your ideas and make sure we can answer all of your questions today. I will now turn it over to Rashid with Aramco.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello?
Rashid, you're good. Go forward.
Okay, fantastic. It's a wonderful opportunity to be part of this very wonderful webinar. This is really exciting. It's a day that I've been looking forward to as part of Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, which is part of Saudi Aramco as a subsidiary company. Our goal is to basically create new business opportunities in Kingdom in the vital areas that are very important for the local entrepreneurs, and certainly water, being in the middle of the desert, is one of the most important things that we can focus on. Among other things is basically plenty of solar energy here, and solar energy is becoming economical. So what we are seeking at basically looking at the innovative solutions, process integration, application of advanced materials in a way so that we can lower the desalination cost. And with the goal to support small and medium enterprises. In the past, has been always the large, basically municipalities that supported, but I think this is a wonderful opportunity as solar becomes more economical and decentralized to create entrepreneurial opportunity. And it's very important for Saudi Aramco. From investment point of view, if you look at the newspaper, you'll see somewhere between 50 billion or so being projected to be spent on desalination during decades, and over 100 or so billion in solar energy. So what this project allows you to do is basically integrate these emerging areas with new innovations and inventions. Strategically, one final point is that we are burning literally 1.5 million barrel of crude oil equivalent to run the desalination plant. Now that's not just true in Saudi Arabia. The worldwide, everybody is burning fossil energy. So I think it's a global problem. And I think it's a great opportunity for the Solver community to come forward and recognize that this is vitally important not only for Saudi Arabia, but also for the world. And perhaps for the first time, we'll see small entrepreneurs emerging as a result, leveraging both the solar energy or renewable energy and provide the water to the world by desalination. Okay, I think, did it go through?
We're on to your next slide.
Hello?
Hi, Rashid. We're on to your next slide if you want to continue.
Okay, I have a hard time. There's a lot of echo in the background.
Rashid, we have slide number 7 displayed right now. If you want to talk through kind of the process and the diagram.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So basically that diagram that is appearing in the 9 Sigma website as far as the submission process, basically we have defined some outline about so that in case you are providing an economic basis of calculation, this should be a guideline and not cast in concrete. What we're talking about is just assume that your water is about 50,000 ppm, and we are basically getting the product at around 250 ppm level. So that's basically some rule of thumb. And energy input and some processes generate energy. So that should be credited at 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And basically, this is just some general guideline as far as doing the process calculation. And that's for people who are integrating the existing processes in a way that could be applied today. But if you have novel concept, and this is a innovation tournament, it's an innovation based, and so there'll be a lot of novel processes out there that has been tested. Perhaps it would take a little bit of time to scale up. You have to provide some sort of conceptual diagram as well as provide some basis, some rationale for the numbers used in your calculations so that the judges can clearly understand where those numbers are coming from. So these are not cast in concrete. These are some guidelines so that it is fair and equitable to all the submitters. And I hope that makes sense. And I'm sure if there's any question, 9 Sigma will explain later on. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And I think now we're ready to move on to the next slide, which will be discussed by Dave Palizzotto.
Hi. Okay, this slide is, it basically talks about the appropriateness of the response to the challenge. I think it's fairly straightforward, right? I think when you talk about the maturity of the approach, what we're really looking for is, understanding if there are things out there today that can be used and that we're not aware of, versus, high-level concepts that are still in the 3x5 index card ideation stage. So that first bullet really talks to, what's the level of invention and how close is the technology to implementation. And then, of course, technical feasibility. I mean, certainly we need to understand what the technology is about and what it does, but more importantly, how it fits into existing infrastructure, how difficult it might be to manufacture, things that would talk to how readily the new technology concept, can be implemented. Certainly, as Rashid had pointed out earlier on the last slide, conceptual ideas, innovative ideas are certainly encouraged, and that talks really to the first point around the level of maturity. This would be one of maybe the 3x5 index card ideas that not quite ready for commercialization, but certainly conceptual, innovative issues are welcomed and encouraged. And of course, at the end of the day, this is all going to be about reducing energy, reducing cost. And so clearly, whatever concept you have, whether it's something that is relevant today or going to be out, 3 to 5 time frame, you still want to have some comparison of, where your costs are relative to the already existing technologies, be they thermal desalination or reverse osmosis or what have you. Some understanding of what your experience is in terms of desalination and related fields would also help to judge, the viability of the approach. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the 9 Sigma folks for the Q&A session.
And if I could add one more point along that line.
Certainly.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Basically, what we have defined is 50 cents per, cubic meter. So that is one of the basics that we have defined. And mostly when we talk about 50 cents, these costs have been coming down from 1972 on. Every decade we have reduced and it came to a point is fairly low, and is basically that when we say 50 cents, it goes into really two parts. One is the capital cost, and the other is basically the type of technology which is used that consumes electricity and the operating cost. So I think if we have a disruptive type of solar energy process or renewable energy process, we can dramatically impact that part. So I think that's where the operating cost as well as the energy cost is where we can make the biggest impact, and therefore the focus is on application of renewable energy. I was just making an addition to what Dave just said.
Go ahead and start the Q&A session. We have about 10 frequently asked questions that we want to go through first, and we have them on the slide here. For all participants, you could press *6 to mute your line. We have a lot of echo right now, and it would be great to have as clear audio as possible. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first one is submit more than one proposal.
And this is Ellen from 9 Sigma. The answer is yes. So if you have more than one idea that is a good fit for this challenge topic, then we and the sponsors for this challenge would love to hear about it. So for each different idea, you are able to submit a different proposal. You do have to submit at least one proposal to be eligible for project consideration.
How do I submit my proposal?
So all submissions for this challenge have to be done online. You'll need to submit by visiting www.9sites.com/community/ecomagination, and then click on the Respond Now button. Now, in order to be able to actually respond, you do have to be registered and signed in at the 9 Sites site in order for that to work.
And as an reminder, at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, there will be the link to that 9 Sites website. Number 3, my approach does not desalinate seawater using new materials or renewable energy sources, but it does create a co-product that can be sold to significantly offset the conventional technology desalination costs. Is there interest in this type of approach?
And I think, Rashid, we're going to punt that one over to you.
Well, absolutely. I think that is a very exciting paradigm shift that we probably will be looking forward to in the future. I have been in a recent conference, and the professor is saying that, look, you will be seeing there's a new world emerging. We have been mining for minerals and strip mining and so forth, whereas seawater is loaded with various type of minerals. And if we can extract the minerals, and many processes are being explored, then we can get value-added minerals and even energy in such a way that water will be free. So I think those are some really exciting technology that are perhaps emerging, and we certainly are, we welcome to submit them, and we are very keen to hear about them. So the answer is definitely yes.
Thank you, Rashid. Is everybody having difficulty hearing us? Is there, we'll try and make it a little bit clearer, hopefully.
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can hear you loud and clear, Rashid. Thank you. We'll move on, and again, want to remind everybody that this will be transcribed, so if there is any audio issues at this point, it's being recorded and transcribed, and you will be able to read and listen to this presentation after the fact if you did miss anything. So we'll move on. I apologize, the slide's a little out of order from the questions that we have here, so we're going to move on to number 3 on the slide, but it was number 4 on ours. Can we include conceptual process that is still in the early stage of development?
And I think, Dave, we're going to toss this over to you.
Yeah, I don't know if Ashish is online or not, but Ashish, if you are, you can chime in here. But yes, I mean, I think the point has been made, multiple times already that Conceptual novel processes can certainly be certainly something we want to encourage. They can be disruptive, and these are the kinds of things that we're looking for. Obviously, though, if we're going to be putting in a conceptual novel approach, then some rationale for the assumptions that are used, maybe leap of faith assumptions need to be articulated, and some schematic that provides how the system is going to work and the elements that would go into validating some of the cost projections would certainly be required.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and move on to question number 5. To closely estimate the use of renewable energy such as solar, we would have to have an idea the related information, for example, the sunlight hours, seasonal air temperatures, salt concentration, etc.
And so I guess, Dave, we're also going to throw that over to you to kind of address, what are the numbers that people are thinking of, et cetera.
Okay. Again, I think the challenge already specifies, and I think this was in one of the earlier slides, they're specifying 50,000 ppm saline water input. You're assuming that the cost of energy is in U.S. dollars around 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And I think Rashid had this on one of his slides. He's looking at a 250 to 500 ppm output target. And you ought to just assume for this exercise that the 15 cents a kilowatt hour is available 24 hours a day for the purpose of economics. So I think that's a reasonable way to respond to that.
Great, thanks. So we'll move on to number 6. Please advise how capital costs of the desalination system should be allocated per cubic meter.
And I think this must be cubic meter of water. Okay, and then I think that this next question we are sending to Rashid. Is that correct? Rashid, if you're not on the...
Can you hear me okay? I was automatically muted, so...
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, again, that was actually a question raised. The key here is basically what we're looking at, application of renewable energy and innovation in terms of materials. The proposal should be transparent in the basis of the calculation. And they have to do rigorous economics, then can assume that there is zero debt, and basically ignoring the taxes, and use what is the discount rate they have utilized. The focus on new technology or how they are combined to make the desalination more cost effective by integrating with renewable energy. And to achieve less than 50 cents per cubic meter, and of course, I don't know if I'm making it clear here. There's a beep sound. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, okay. So basically then on top of it, if there are some credits to be taken for energy and materials, then of course that will be taking into account as well. This information includes water production and water export, electricity use, electricity generated, and fuel used. These are for detailed calculation if somebody wants to really get into, and may not apply to every proposal. Some general guidelines.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to number 7, which is our operation and maintenance costs to be included.
And I think that actually we will throw that also over to Rashid, since it seems to be related to the previous question.
Yes, absolutely. I guess for the fairness of comparing one process versus other, we certainly need to take into consideration because these 50 cents will be coming from the energy cost, capital cost, as well as operating cost. So operating cost should be included, and basically, if there are any assets that are being replaced to retrofit an existing system required during the lifetime of the project should be included, since we're looking at lowest operating / capital cost, which would be most desirable.
Thank you, Rashid. Number 8, should the calculation include cost of new renewable energy technology, or will that be added into the original scheme?
And Dave, we're going to throw that over to you.
Oops. Yes. The answer is yes, of course. Anything that you can extract that would be of value would certainly help to reduce the cost, and that absolutely should be included. I think Rashid commented earlier that there are many metals in water, and potentially if you could figure a way to extract those and retain value from them, then the concept of I don't know, energy neutral desalination may actually be a reality. So the answer to that question is yes, of course.
Thanks, Dave. We'll move on to number 9. What is the relationship between Aramco Entrepreneurship, AEC Center, and GE for this challenge?
And I think, Rashid, that could be probably, Deb, actually. Deb, we'll let you answer that one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Through this challenge, we are really hoping to inspire local and global inventors, innovators, really to bring their best ideas, their talents to this exciting topic and help drive, with the potential to help drive local manufacturing and efficient desalination plants and empower local entrepreneurs. Aramco Entrepreneurship and GE ecomagination, we're partnering not just to identify new solutions to reduce desalination costs, but we're also identifying the possible attractive new technologies and create new industries in the local area in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, as all of you know, is the world leader in desalination, where renewable energy such as solar is plentiful and a great opportunity to integrate together. And, Saudi Arabia also has a great location for possible deployment of these new innovative processes. And if we can get it right in this arid part of the world, we know we can scale this globally as well. So.
Thank you, Deb. And then we'll finish up with these frequently asked questions with number 10. Where can we find information regarding desalination in Saudi Arabia? And Rashid will go ahead and have you answer that one.
Okay, great. We have an organization called SWCC, Saline Water Conversion Corporation, which is the leader in the kingdom, is part of the government organization that issues an annual report with lots of details, and they have close to 30 desal plants in the kingdom, being the largest desalinator in the world. And so their annual report could be obtained just by going into their website, swcc.gov.sa, and basically they report all kinds of statistics and data. So that's certainly a principal source, but that's not the only source. There are a lot of publications that are released by various international media that could also be cited in terms of the need of desalination and the emerging technologies that are applying using renewable energy. So we're open to any credible sources, and I'm sure people will be citing some of those references or need to consult some of those references. And if somebody needs any additional information, feel free to contact us and we can direct them to the right direction.
Great, thank you so much. So that concludes the structured frequently asked questions portion that we have, and now we're going to go into the Q&A that we had received during the presentation. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please submit them into the generalized chat box, and then we will address them if we have time here. So I'm going to go ahead and the first question that we fielded was, how do you handle the IP?
And, I'm happy to answer this from the submission process. This is Eloise from 9 Sigma, which is to say that all submissions to this challenge must contain only non-confidential information. And that is under the terms and conditions that you agree to by virtue of submitting through our site. That's part of the process. Now, in terms of further down the line, how IP is managed, I'm going to throw this over to Deb.
I'm sorry. Just following up on the IP, I think, the way GE manages it is, has been described in how the program is structured today, and, we will work with the award winners through this as next steps as well.
Great, thank you. So the next one is, we had a question come in about international participation. Can you go ahead and elaborate on that?
So this is Eloise from 9 Sigma, and in response to the question about international participation in this challenge does intend to have a global reach, and so the sponsors and 9 Sigma welcome submissions from all around the world.
So one of the next questions we got was, when you mention the word scalable, how small or large does this encompass?
Dave, do you want to address this? And Rashid, feel free to jump in after Dave has made his comments.
Sure, I'm not sure I understand the question. Could you restate the question?
Sure. So the question was, when you mention the word scalable, how small or large does that encompass?
And I think that from other questions that 9 Sigma has fielded along these same lines, I think that what the person is asking is, when we say it needs to be scalable, is this something that can supply water to a person for a day, water to a town for a day, water to a major city? Like, what is the scale at which you ultimately expect a process to desalinate water?
Okay, well, I'll throw out some numbers, but Rashid, please step in here, because I'm not sure what scale you're actually looking for, but you're talking about something that's certainly in the vicinity of I would say 5,000 cubic meters a day. That would be on the high end, maybe, that would supply towns and cities. It could be higher than that, right? And then you can go all the way down to to smaller areas where you're talking about maybe 100 cubic meters a day, and then something in between 50 and 2,000 cubic meters a day. So I think when you talk scale, I mean, I think if you're talking about large cities and towns, you want something up in the vicinity of 5,000 cubic meters a day. And then, if it's a smaller area, then somewhere between 50 and 2,000, and then even smaller than that would be 100. Rashid, how would you?
Yeah, certainly. I think I agree with that. I think, again, talking about the scale, it depends on who are we developing the technology for. There are island communities around the world. They don't have a lot of population, so you don't have large municipalities that can afford to supply that. I was recently in Hawaii, and there are communities that basically are carrying water in their truck. Now, solar energy has become inexpensive. They are buying panels, and there is no reason why somebody can provide that for a small community, a solar-based desalination process. So that also applies in parts of Saudi Arabia where there is no pipelines, and around the world as well. So I think certainly there's a market for it out there in a smaller scale. but by large, it is still run by municipalities, and we're talking about very large scale. Along that line, I want to highlight that the new and emerging technologies that are modular in nature, that only can be added on as needed basis. So the new technologies that are emerging, so they may not as scale dependent as the conventional technologies have been. So one of the professors I was talking with, he basically thought that, well, it works in the lab scale, but it would also work in the mega scale, because we're talking about transistors, and they're very inexpensive. Actually, it's going to get cheaper. So we're looking at the way it happened in the IT industry. Hopefully, same sort of new thinking will come into the water business and the energy business, and we really don't know what is out there. And maybe somebody working out there that would work on a small scale as well as large scale. And so we don't want to limit somebody's thinking in terms of what the requirements are.
Great, thank you. So the next one is, my process produces a valuable product, which is not a mineral. Can I include it in the cost calculations?
And Rashid, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. If there are diamonds and golds, please do. In fact, I think Aramco would be very interested, although we're not in that business. Just joking about it. Certainly, there are valuable minerals out there, and some of them are extremely high value in the lithium, for example, and magnesium, and so those, I believe that there are emerging technologies to get those minerals from seawater fairly inexpensively. There is a question of coming up with the right kind of process, right kind of devices. So the answer is, I think we discussed earlier, is definitely we're looking forward to those kind of input.
And if you don't mind, I can add to that. This is Ashish from GE. There are certain processes that, in addition to minerals, or instead of minerals rather, potentially also produce value-add chemicals like acids and caustics, which can be potentially byproducts of desalination processes. So if that's the case for any of you inventors, solvers out there, feel free to include that as you overall look at the economic balance around the system that you're proposing. So in addition to the minerals, again, if there's value-add chemicals that your process produces, that should be included as part of the analysis.
Thanks, Ashish.
So the next one is, there was another question about the price structure. Can we elaborate on that?
So this is Eloise. The price structure for this challenge is that the top 4 respondents will each receive a cash prize of $50,000. Now, that's a straight-up cash prize, but in addition, those top 4 respondents may have the opportunity to also engage with GE to receive additional technology funding.
Thank you, Eloise. Next question. Pretreatment is such a large percentage of overall costs and has an effect on amount of energy used. Why is it termed as free in the challenge?
Dave, do you want to, or Ashish, either of you, would you like to address this?
Well, I think, I'll start off. Pretreatment is certainly a component of any operating desal system. That said, I think the focus is primarily on reducing the energy spend. And on the pretreatment, while it's important, it takes about 8 to 12%, give or take, usually between around 0.9 and maybe 1.5 kilowatt hours per 1,000 gallons of energy. But in comparison to the seawater, let's say the RO system, there the energy spend is it's around 65. The whole system cost is 65 to 85% of the total energy is spent in the seawater RO system. So I think for the purpose of just normalizing the process, we just want to look at technologies that are associated with, with the desalination component. On the other hand, if you have a process that could considerably improve the pretreatment, I don't think we want to ignore that either. That's my opinion anyway. So, Rashid, I don't think we want to ignore pretreatment, and we would certainly want to engage that as well.
Yeah,
and just to add to that, Dave, I think that describes it really well. But if there is a desalination process that somebody proposes that even minimizes or reduces the energy footprint that goes with the pretreatment, that would be pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Great, thank you. So the next one we have is the capital cost and or cost included in the 50 cent per cubic meter criterion?
We get this question a lot. Dave, do you want to, or Ashish, would you like to address this?
So yes, the 50 cents is an all-in number. So that includes, the energy cost, the cost of capital, pretreatment, everything. It's an all-in number. That's what that 50 cents includes today. Or that's what the proposal is, the challenge is about.
Great, thank you. So the next one is, can a specific new renewable technology be considered as an add-on to solar PV systems?
Ashish?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Can a specific new renewable technology be considered as an add-on to solar PV systems?
Yeah, I don't think we're limiting the challenge in any way, form, or fashion. So, if there's newer ideas around different renewable energy concepts around, wind or biomass or other concepts, that is all of interest as solvers address this challenge.
In fact, that's what, if I may add, in fact, that's really what we're looking at, the integration. I mean, you don't have solar energy at nighttime, and but you may have wind energy. So how do we integrate that in a way to maximize value and lower the cost of production? I think that's where the innovative process may come in. And so there's so many other processes that I've been looking at, the wave energy and so on and so forth. And if they could be scaled up, if they could be commercialized, I think it's certainly welcome, and we would like to hear from the submitters.
Yeah, and just one more comment is that, when we talk about renewals, and I think Rashid just commented that, in the nighttime some of these renewables aren't available. So, I mean, that kind of brings the whole question of around energy storage systems and how clever one can be about, storing energy. And I think that could be a component that we'd be interested in talking about as well.
Okay, thank you so much. So is the information available regarding the state-of-the-art technology with all costs?
And I'll throw this out to any of you guys to answer. Ashish,
Would
Dave.
you repeat the question, please?
Is there information available regarding the state-of-the-art technology with all costs?
I think, I'll start, and then, I'm sure Rashid and Dave, will have more to add to this. But with respect to the state-of-the-art, from an energy perspective, if you look at, state-of-the-art really is seawater desalination using reverse osmosis, right? And those, we know that, the entitlement based on thermodynamics is 1 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. That's assuming ideal solutions, ideal fluids, room temperature 25 degrees centigrade, and so on. The desalination piece today runs at about 2 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. So, the thermodynamic limit being 1 kilowatt hours or 1.1 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. Now, beyond the desalination piece, as you add in the cost to pump the water from the sea, do the pretreatment, and then send it out via distribution to wherever the water needs to go, that a lot of that really varies upon the specific location you're in, where the water source is, the proximity to where it needs to go, the pretreatment you're using, and so on. So I think it'd be very hard to clearly articulate what the overall state of the art is, But, again, just from a desalination process, the core of, doing reverse osmosis-based desalination, I think a good rule of thumb there would be to use 2 kilowatt hours per cubic meter, or a little over 2.2.
Yeah, I'll just comment that there are a number, almost information overload on the internet that's available that's freely available. I'm looking at one right now that's produced from the World Bank that does an outstanding job, I think anyway, of, as Ashish pointed out, articulating, the water cost in dollars per cubic meter as a function of whether it's a seawater RO plant or a multiple effect distillation plant, and then superimposed on that, where in the world that may happen. And so the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf Coast, the Gulf states, those kinds of things. So the information on detailed, and this World Bank report is very detailed and gives an awful lot of information around the kinds of details that I think you're looking for. So I would go to the internet and start looking around for the things like the Renewable Energy Desalination report from the World Bank.
I'd just like to add that I have been getting overwhelmed with the number of reports that's out there. There's quite a bit of interest, quite a few reports focused entirely on seawater desalination cost. One is my water reuse, which I'm holding on right now, and that's comparing the cost of different processes. And if anybody's interested, if they don't have it in internet, I can actually be helpful sending some of the links to them.
Okay, thank you so much.
So the next question is, how important is the commercialization potential, particularly in Saudi Arabia? And I think Rashid obviously will throw that one over to you.
Okay, so, well, certainly Saudi Arabia is growing pretty rapidly, and typically when a country grows, the water usage grows at a faster rate. So water is a very strategic importance to the kingdom. Certainly Saudi Aramco is an oil company, but Entrepreneurship Center took on that initiative because I think the future of the kingdom depends on making water viable at a lower cost, because we cannot sustain using fossil energy. We cannot burn oil to power our desal unit. That is a imperative from the very highest level. We have met with the SWAIC governor, and Mr. Governor, who is obviously the highest level official for
I apologize. It looks as though Rashid's phone has cut out, so let me go ahead and mute him, and hopefully we can get his answer to that question further on. Wait 1 second. There we go. So we apologize for that. Unfortunately, with international calling, sometimes we have hiccups like that. So we have...
One, I can, this is Dave Paulside, I can just comment from the GE perspective anyway.
Sure. Perfect.
If that's okay.
Yes.
I'm just going to say that GE is obviously a technology company, and so we're certainly interested in the here and the now, obviously. But we are a global operation, and we would certainly be interested in in looking further out as well. So we have 1 foot in the here and the now, and 1 foot in the in the upcoming technology bucket. So we'd be interested in both avenues. Ashish, do you agree with that?
Yep, I think that's a fair statement.
Okay, great. So we have fewer than 10 minutes left, and we have a lot of questions that will be answered, like we said, within the transcribed Q&A later on. But we wanted to make sure that we got this next question. So the panelists had said that the cost now includes pre-treatment, which contradicts the rubric of the challenge. Can you elaborate?
No, I don't think, I don't, well, yeah, he's right. I mean, I think we kind of changed horses here a little bit, but I think the rubric of the challenge should remain as stated, and that is it does assume that the pre-treatment is free. You know, that said, you know, I think the comment that we were making is that we would certainly be interested in hearing about you know, pre-treatment issues, but that may be, you know, to be fair to everybody, I think that may be outside the rubric. Anybody else, Ashish or Rashid, want to comment?
Yeah, I think unfortunately we lost Rashid, so we're going to go.
No, I think that's the right way to phrase it. You know, again, the challenge is around, you know, mostly the core desalination process, and you know, if you look at the schematic that was shared earlier on, you know, that talks about essentially taking salt out from water. Having said that, you know, we know that things like pre-treatment and other energy costs that are part of an overall system or a plant, you know, it's all intertwined, right? So while the core ideas, concepts, you know, that we want to see are around the desalination concepts, taking the salt out of the water, we cannot be ignorant around some of the other cost components, energy components that go into building an overall plant.
Great, thank you. We're going to try and squeeze a couple more in here. So if we are spreading capital costs across the time horizon to calculate cost per cubic liter, how many years should we use as a benchmark?
Dave or Ashish?
Yeah, I'm going to have to defer the...
I think Rashid would be the best individual to answer this.
I'm sorry, I was muted, so I just got back online. I think I basically had a little comment on the, can you hear me okay, first of all?
Yes, we apologize for that, Rashid. Your phone had malfunctioned and was making a high-pitched noise, so we had to mute you with that. But please go ahead.
Well, okay. So I'm back. Basically, what I wanted to comment on the previous question is that we wanted to focus on the core desal part. We know that there are pre-treatment needs to be done. There may be issues related to post-treatment, brine disposal. So the topic would be getting lost with so many different issues that are involved. So to be fair to everybody, we thought, well, that's where the energy is being utilized, which is in the heart of desal. And let's look at that, and let's focus the challenge right on the desal part so that we put all our effort on the greatest energy consumer, which is the desal process. So that was the response for the earlier question that I wanted to add. Now, there's another question I didn't quite hear that.
You know what, Rashid, we are going to need to wrap up because we are just about 3 minutes in and we have one last slide. We want to make sure that everybody gets the final information. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody knows to go to our to the challenge website, which is here on this last slide. You can register to receive updates, to view the FAQs, and join the community. You're going to stay connected in the community forum, which is on the link there. And the deadline for submissions is August 19th, 2014. We also want to reiterate that this recording will be up with the transcription of all of the Q&A that went up, regardless of whether it got answered live or not. And we will be including the links that Rashid mentioned being able to send. And I just want to reinforce one more time that the community forum is available at www.9sites.com/community/ecomagination/forum for any further questions such as the ones that we had here.
This is Eloise, and I am the actual manager for the forum, and so I want to encourage every one of you to regularly visit the forum and post your questions. I think many of you, we are seeing from the questions that are coming in that we don't have time to answer live. Many of you have the same concerns, and we will try to cluster the light questions together and answer them in one discussion thread, and so I strongly encourage people to participate in the forum. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Again, submission deadline is August 19th, and hopefully we should see responses from all of you. And again, thank you so much.
The host has left the meeting, so at this time, the meeting will come to an end. Thank you, and goodbye.